Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour, your weekly dose of photography inspiration and an introduction to a new photographer that will inspire you to try something new. You can find the schedule for upcoming sessions on my website at lindanickell.com/happiness hour. And while you're there, please consider signing up for our monthly newsletter. Tonight's guest is James Kelly. James is a landscape photographer that truly lives and breathes photography. It's his life. Growing up surrounded by the Scottish countryside taught him to respect nature and embrace its moods, from dazzling sunlight to fog, rain, and wind that can transform the landscape in an instant. James loves those unpredictable elements. They're what make each image an adventure for him. Now living in the Faroe Islands, James continues to find inspiration in rugged coastlines and ever-changing light. His black and white photography beautifully distills these landscapes down to their essence, emphasizing mood, texture, and the raw power of nature itself. When he's not out chasing weather and light, James leads photography workshops, sharing his passion for the outdoors and helping others connect with the land through their lens. In tonight's presentation, Shadows and Storms, Finding Beauty in Monochrome Landscapes. James explores the art of black and white photography and why the most difficult conditions often produce the most powerful images. He'll share how stripping away color brings mood, texture, and form to the forefront, and how patience in unpredictable weather can open the door to opportunities to make unforgettable photographs. You can connect with James through his website at justjamesk.com. And if you're on Instagram, you can find him at justjamesk. With that, welcome back to the Happiness Hour, James.
Thank you very much for having me. That's a fair intro. That's really good.
That was a long-winded
That was a
one.
long one.
There's a lot of stuff I could say about you, but some of it's not real clean. So
But
I'm
happy
just
you spend a
kidding.
week with me.
I know, I know. Yeah, so I've already disclosed to the room how I know James, but I met James in, oh gosh, 2023.
Mhm.
I was extended an invitation to, hey, we're going to the Faroe Islands. We're going to do some scouting. Do you want to tag along? I didn't know anybody other than the person that invited me, and James was her local guy, her friend. She's known him for years. I just kind of jumped in, and I just got a mouthful of what the Faroe
Abuse.
Islands. No, 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 of what the Faroe Islands had to offer.
Okay.
And even dummy me, my geography is pretty basic. I didn't even know where I was going. I just said, sure, why not? I'll go. And oh my gosh, I should have done a little bit more research. But having you like there with me everywhere we went was like I don't need Google. I've got James. So I think what I did, there were five of us total, I think. I'm gonna miscount here.
Mhm.
But one by one, I got these people either on their own or, trapped in a vehicle. It's like, hey, I did this thing called the Happiness Hour. Can I talk you into doing a presentation? And everybody said yes. So everybody's been on the show at least once, some more than once. Some are begging to come back. But James, this is your second visit here, and it is 1:40 a.m. your time. And thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm not gonna keep rambling on, but I you're my friend and you're here, so I'm excited to see you and um I'm excited that people are going to get to listen to you again tonight.
Fantastic. No, I'm very excited to be here, and it's been worth staying up for. So the caffeine and the cans of Monster have helped
Woo!
today. So that's yeah, but being up in 4 hours might be a bit different story. So we'll see how it goes there. But no, I'm excited. Anything to talk about photography, I'm very excited about. Today, I'm going to go a whole presentation on the slide, but it's something that I've never done before. We are going to talk about my black and white photography, and I'm going to explain a little bit more in this slide about that. Um, I think the intro is perfect. It's introduced me. I'm from the northeast of Scotland, so I'm from outside a city called Aberdeen, which was the oil capital of Europe. So we have many Aberdonians in Texas and many Aberdonians living in Texas, and all related to oil. Um, Grew up in the countryside, surrounded by farmland, absolutely stunning, right on the edge of what's called the Grampian Mountains, which reach from. So, yeah, so basically, with this, if anyone's been to Scotland, you know how incredibly beautiful the landscape is, and how changeable the weather is, or so I thought. I do now live in the Faroe Islands. So those who do not know where the Faroe Islands are, it is a selection of 18 islands that are kind of bang smack in the middle of Iceland and Shetland Islands, which is the top of Scotland, right in the middle. They are owned mainly by Denmark, but they completely govern themselves. So this is my partners from here. We moved here last October. So it was a very quick decision. We always knew we'd move here. We have three kids. But my partner Iris, she phoned me up during a workshop in September and said, "Hey, we're now moving to the Faroes." And 8 weeks later, we were here. So it was very fast. House was all packed up, everything was sold, and shipped everything up, and I haven't regretted it for 1 second. It's been incredible. So very happy with that. So that's kind of my background. I'm 41. I've been in photography since I was probably about 18, 20. A big part of what I'm going to talk about will go back to my early days of photography. Um, and as Linda says, I live and breathe photography. I was a wedding photographer for 14 years. I became quite a successful wedding photographer in Scotland, shooting over 40 weddings a year, which was absolutely incredible. So I've done a variant of this. I used to photograph a lot of horses, doing equine photography, because obviously being living in the northeast of Scotland where there's lots of oil money, there is also lots of horses that they love more than their kids. So that was a big deal. So, but landscape photography has been my true passion, my heart. I started running workshops in 2018 was the first one. Actually, Elise Bender was who we were speaking about before. She was actually on my first workshop. Um, and I'd been coming to the Faroes for best part of maybe 6 or 7 years before I was comfortable to run a workshop, because the weather and the landscape is so incredibly unpredictable that I wanted to be really sure that I knew how the landscape would be in different seasons. So that's why I waited for so long to do it. Um, then after that one workshop, I started running around about between 8 and 10 workshops a year here for myself and for various companies as well. All with the exception of this year, where actually I am not running any workshops this year. That is through personal choice with everything that's been happening in the world. Moving here and having to get a job so that we can buy a house. So I've had to kind of put the workshops on hold this year, but we do have workshops running next year. So that's kind of the whole ballpark figure of that. But as I say, my talk today, I'm going to speak to you about my black and white photography. So I spent a long time trying to think of how I wanted to call this talk. As I said before, this is something very new to me. It's the first time that I've ever really discussed my black and white photography and the reason why I'm so passionate about black and white photography. But I also want to talk about the kind of effect that photography had on my mental health and my life for so many years. A lot of people get into photography to help with mental health reasons, to escape, to do so much, but when in fact, photography was actually really affecting my mental health in a very negative way. So we're going to come to that in just a wee second. So the talk here, shadows and storms, finding the beauty in monochrome landscapes. So that's me. I'm pretty sure that you might have taken that picture, Linda. Yep.
I'm
I
gonna
think so.
take
Yes, I
I'm
remember
gonna
it.
take credit for that. Yes.
You're gonna take credit for that. I'm trying to
I think
think. I'm
that's my
sure
lens too.
and no, that's my lens.
Oh, is
No,
it? Okay.
no, that's Bender's lens. I borrowed Bender's lens, I think. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, this is us in the Faroe Islands on one of the edge of the crazy cliffs that are a bit mental. Or maybe this was your lens. Maybe it was your lens
It
actually.
is. It's a 200 to 500.
Yeah. So this was pretty crazy on the island of Nolsoy. Sorry, we were photographing wild puffins. We were camped out on the edge of the cliff for many hours, just waiting for these puffins to land, and it was incredible. But we'll come back to that in a minute. So, oh, but there we go. So let me just tell you about me. I studied photography in college. The class in Aberdeen, we were actually the last course in the UK that was 90% film photography and 10% digital. The year that I left, they actually ripped out all the dark rooms and put in digital processing labs, and they moved the black and white equipment into a tiny little cupboard. I have actually recently learned that they have reversed it. They have actually put the black and white dark rooms back in, which is amazing because for those who've maybe never done black and white photography, it's a whole different element of film photography. There's a real art and a skill to it as well as taking pictures. You become so much more connected when you're playing with these chemicals and you have to get it right or you mess up the whole film, and even printing it is at times takes time, and it's you just connect more with it in my personal opinion. So as I mentioned before, I've been a photographer for many years. I've been a landscape and a wedding photographer. I shoot many weddings. I loved it. I hated it to start with. Who wants to be a wedding photographer? Never thought I'd ever want to be a wedding photographer, but turns out I was quite good at it, and I took it serious. But it completely drained all my energy and my passion with photography. It became a business. It became money. Um, there was a lot of stress and pressure with expectations. I suffer horrendous with imposter syndrome. And even though I was booking weddings 3 or 4 years in advance, I still mental health inside was I wasn't good enough, or I was an imposter. I was faking it. So I struggled a lot with that for many years. Landscape photography was kind of my getaway for that. And I was shooting lots of pictures, but I was never really happy with the pictures that I was producing. I was happy with the pictures, but I wasn't connecting with them. There's just something wasn't right. And I was actually helping out with a photography retreat that we get run every 2 years in Scotland. And this was back in 2023, I think it's 22 or 23, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, 22. Just kind of after the pandemic, it kind of started to wind down in Scotland from its seriousness. And there's a phenomenal photographer called Margaret Soraya. I should actually send you her details, Linda, because she is amazing to have on the podcast. And I helped her start this photography retreat, and I went to it, and I had to do a talk, and I didn't tell her what my talk was going to be about, and it kind of drove her a bit nuts. But I stood in front of these 85 people, and I had a presentation and I introduced myself, and basically the only slide that I had on there that said was, "This is my therapy session." And I explained to the group that I was with how I'd lost my passion and I wasn't loving my photography. And all these people in this workshop and retreat have done workshops with other photographers, and they've worked on mindfulness and lots of advice. And I wanted them to give me the advice that they had learned on things that I could use to improve my photography. And I got lots and lots of advice. But one of the things that came back was, you know, you take some really good black and white pictures, but there's very few black and white pictures on your Instagram. And I talked about my passion for black and white. And after that, that is when I kind of decided, to stop doing weddings. So I completely gave up photographing weddings. My last wedding was this year. So I have no more weddings in the books. And I also decided that I'm no longer going to start shooting in color. I'm going to mainly do just black and white. And that's where I decided to do it for me. I felt that the pictures that I was uploading onto my social media, my Instagram, were there to attract people to book onto my workshops. And it was a medium that was being used to promote my business. But I wasn't really happy with the pictures. And that's when I decided to think, you know what? Sod it. I'm just going to upload the pictures in black and white that I love and create pictures that I want to create. And if someone wants to come in my workshops because they've seen these pictures, fantastic. And if it means I lose business, oh well. I don't really, I do care, but I don't care, if that makes sense. So that's when as I say here, I decided that I'm going to start doing it for me, because I've given advice to everyone that, I've always said to people that, you know, you should only ever take pictures for you. In an age where we have to upload to social media and we get that recognition and those likes and that thrill, don't be taking pictures for other people. Take pictures for you. If you love it, put it online. If you don't love it, don't put it out there. Okay, it's only for you. So that retreat that I was on, the next day after doing that therapy session, I actually went out with the camera. We were actually running a little workshop in the woods, and I put my camera onto black and white. I actually even changed it to square crop as well, and I spent about 3 hours just wandering through the woods. And because I had given myself permission to shoot in black and white, I started seeing things completely different. I converted the camera to black and white, even though shooting raw in JPEG, so they'd be converted back to color. But I started looking for light and for texture and just really going in deep. And these 6 images are actually images that I took from that retreat. And one of my favorites is actually the mushroom in the top, the little mushroom in the top right corner, because the woodland was so dark. There was a lot of rain coming in, and just the little bit of light that was coming in was hitting this mushroom. And I sat and spent about half an hour just photographing this mushroom. I'm actually shooting directly upwards which is why I'm looking underneath it. But then this allowed me to start looking around the forest at all the different light and the different textures. And for me, with color, you're photographing so much, and it's it can become a distraction when there's so much colors. I think it really messes with our mind a little bit, and our brain is looking at so many different elements. But when we convert to black and white, we're looking for texture and color and light. And we see things completely differently when this happens. One of the best quotes I ever heard when it comes to photographing people is, when you photograph in color, you photograph their clothes. But when you photograph in black and white, you photograph their souls. And it's because you capture the lights and the shade and the shadow and the texture. And I think you see things completely different when you shoot in black and white. So these are the 6 images. These are probably my favorite 6 images. And it's all about that spotlight and textures and lines and reflections that comes from that. So monochrome has now become my life. Everything I shoot is in black and white. And I'm photographing things differently. I'm not photographing things in color and then converting them into black and white. I'm exposing in the camera for the black and white. So that's what I was saying before. I put the camera into monochrome mode, and I look at the back screen and I see everything in black and white. And I find that I expose things completely different when I'm doing that compared to when I'm photographing in color. And going back a few steps, when I was talking about weddings, someone actually gave me some advice. The last year of shooting weddings full time, they actually recommended shooting the whole wedding in black and white. So again, it's in raw, so it'll convert back to color. But I found myself being able to expose the light a lot better. It allowed me to see moments different. I feel that I'm looking at everything in black and white when I was doing it. Shooting the whole weddings in black and white, and I actually felt that my photography improved in that last year because I was seeing everything in monochrome. And that actually really helped develop it. Just a shame it was a few years too late. It might have, if I'd done that earlier, I might have carried on doing weddings. But I might even have less hair if that was the case, because it was pretty stressful. So this is I'm going to share some images just to start with, just in black and white. And what I love about shooting black and white is that you can make mistakes. You know, you can have high grain. It doesn't have to be 100% sharp when it's in black and white. When you shoot in color, I feel that we're striving for perfection. We need the colors perfect. We need the balance perfect. We need, it all to flow right. But when it's in black and white, none of that matters. All that matters is the subject that you're photographing and the grays, the gray tones, and making sure that something stands out and that you see the texture is completely different. So this is I actually believe this is actually on the Isle of Harris, which is on the west coast of Scotland. It's very similar terrain to the Faroe Islands, but this was a sheep just sitting up on the rock on the Isle of Harris. And this is Black Rock Cottage in the Cairngorms. If anyone Cairngorms, Glencoe, sorry, if anyone's been to Scotland, this is a very famous hut in Glencoe with the Buchel, which is the big mountain in the background. I don't think I can show you, but one right above it is called the Buchel, which is very, very iconic. Um, if anyone's seen James Bond with Daniel Craig, there's that scene when he's in the Aston Martin and he gets out with M and they're looking down the road. That road is actually just behind this cottage for that where that's done. And just, this photograph was probably actually taken almost 18 years ago. It's a long time, and having it in black and white, it was originally in color, but putting it into black and white, it just breathed new life into the picture, and I loved it. This is Aberdeen Beach in the northeast of Scotland, very cold water. And then we're coming into the first picture of the Faroe Islands. So long exposure as well. I love long exposure, especially with black and white and the texture and the patterns that you get with that sky. You've got all this grayness and this dark and these dramatic cliffs. But what really stands out to me is obviously the lighthouse that we have sitting here. I don't know if you can see that blue little marker, but the lighthouse that's sitting there. And then you got the snow-capped mountains and then the rocks down here. And I'll just tell you a little fact about this mountain. So this whole cliff edge that you see here actually loops round to the other side. And in the 60s, this whole mountain collapsed into the sea. And there's a beautiful little village kind of just over this way called Jig. And it actually caused a tsunami that wiped out half of the village in the 60s, which is pretty mental. It's one of the biggest rock slides that's ever happened in Europe. And again, coming back into the Faroes, you know, excuse the my marks in the top corner there, but again, it's you've got these light rays coming in from the left, this bright light. You've got the salmon farms looping around the mountain. It's not perfect, but in black and white, it just shows texture and shadow, and it looks really lovely. And then coming into the three. So the first two in the Faroes. This is the one on the left is the line. I won't say what I call this picture because it's a family friendly show, but we can all imagine maybe what those lines of white clouds could represent. But that was basically everything that was sitting in the sky was those white clouds, and just in those perfectly shaped lines that were coming through. One in the middle is a sea stack called Ostman Stacker, which is here in the Faroes. There's actually an amazing puffin colony that just is this whole rock along here, and then you have all the seagulls and the fulmars, which is all that poo that's coming down there. But this is actually home to me in the Faroes. This is not far from where Iris, my partner, lives. And on the right hand side, this is the Cairngorms. This is called the Green Lochin. It's a tiny little a lochin is a small lake. So we have lochs in Scotland, so Loch Ness, but a lochin is a tiny little loch. And in the summertime, this whole water is green, but in the wintertime, it completely freezes over and they ice skate on it as well, which is quite amazing. But again, just going into the shadows and that bright light that comes out just stands out. So things that should be only in color. And this is a couple of pictures that people would never really think to photograph in black and white. And when you see it, you might think, oh, okay, that's different. Um, Linda might recognize a little picture on the left-hand side that was maybe possibly taken with your lens. But puffins, puffins are so popular, such a popular bird to photograph, and the reason why is because they're cute. They look like clowns. They have these bright colored beaks. But for those that don't know, actually, that I believe at the end of the breeding season in the puffins, they actually lose the colorful beak and they go back to being black and white and gray. And you never see black and white pictures of puffins. And going back into it for me, it's the texture of the lines along its face and then the different shades of gray that you get coming down the beak. And then you see the water droplets that are just sitting on top of the puffin in its head. This is actually probably one of my favorite photographs of puffins. And then on the right hand side, I mean, it's very rare that you ever see the aurora borealis in black and white, and you can just see those light streaks that are coming up, and it's a very simple picture of stars, but just seeing that explosion of light comes up. I do need to, I've got lots and lots of aurora pictures that I need to convert more into black and white just to see how they're going to stand out. But this was the first one that I ever did that I absolutely loved. One of the things is, well, with stepping back from photography is I started giving myself projects to do. I've never really done projects. Um, but this last kind of year, especially the first 6 months of the year when we were living on the South Island, I wasn't really working and just looking after the family. I was getting out more to take pictures. And I started realizing that I was photographing different themes. So I started creating these projects, and I'm going to just share a couple of pictures from these projects. But this is something that I really hope to develop more and more over the coming years. So waterfalls. I mean, who doesn't love a good waterfall coming in, you know? And actually, I was inspired by another photographer, which the name's gone out of my head, but I love saw the pictures and I love the lines that we were getting from waterfalls, especially when you slow that shutter speed down. But I wasn't getting it in color. They weren't standing out to me in color. But convert them into black and white, and again, going against the black and the whites and the grays, to me, they just stood out more. And the first photograph on the left hand side here, this one here, is actually, I call it my secret waterfall because no tourists and actually a lot of photographers in the fairs don't know where this is. It involves a bit of a bugger of a walk to get up to it, but it's this huge big wall of water. And what you actually see is the first waterfall here, and then there's another one here, but there's actually a whole different kind of a ledge all the way up here, and there's about 5 or 6 waterfalls that flow down here, and then they eventually all flow into this one waterfall here. And when we get high winds, all this water just flows back up. So we get upward waterfalls. The wind pushes all the water back up, and in strong winds, it looks amazing. But that's when I started to seeing things completely different with waterfalls. I started looking at the water and how the water flows when it hits the rocks and how it rumbles in the water. And it just started creating these lovely patterns and lines. So this is the first 3 pictures. At the moment, I think I have around about 20 photographs that I've taken in the last 6 months just on the different waterfalls in and around from the Faroe Islands. Echoes of the sun. This is the word that came out to me. I was doing a bit of research and I was trying to think of something other than sun rays, and I came out with echoes of the sun. Um, for those that maybe have done some research, you might come across this, but the capital here in the Faroe Islands is called Tórshavn, which means Thor's Harbor, and we actually get the least amount of direct sunlight than any other capital in Europe, which is mental. If you live here, you would understand um, just how little sun we get. There's no need for suntan lotion. So this time of year, you get these thick clouds coming through, and they tend to break for just a few moments, and you get the most amazing sun rays. coming through, and they hit the landscape. And this spot in particular is a place called Funninger. And I actually have sat here for almost a whole day, just photographing the rays coming in and out, and you get completely different photographs. But what I love is these rays hitting the landscape. You get these beautiful dramatic lines that are coming down. But then you also get the whisper of this cloud, and this cloud was moving so fast and quite violently, actually. It was just circulating round as it goes around. And to me, it just the way that it blends together, it didn't work in color, but in black and white, it just seems to really, really stand out with that. So the next one. This is this little kind of sea stack you see here is called the witch's finger. It sticks up, and this is from an area called Sonfetla. It's a big radar station in the Faroes. And this was actually shot with the 600mm lens shooting over. You got these rays coming through. And again, I love the way that the sea stack stands out. This is actually my I've never been able to get a photograph again from this angle of the sea stack. And I'm actually trying to photograph it from the other side looking towards the sea stack. And it's been my nemesis for about 2, 3 years now. I'm constantly going to this location. I still haven't got the photograph that I want in my head. One day it'll come, but it may take many, many years. And then coming into this element, so that sea stack that I'm photographing is actually, where I'm just trying my bearings now, is actually behind here. And where I was taking that photograph was from up here, and it's just shooting straight across. So that bit of land here is on the end of that rock that way. This is a village called Kuvik, and you just shoot out looking towards this island called Hester. And again, you just get these dramatic sun rays that come in, and they're just constantly changing, constantly changing. And just to give you a little information, exactly where we're looking at along here, there's a tunnel under the sea that the cars drive that connect the two different islands along here. And just these dramatic, it's actually quite zoomed in. You've got the village of Jig just down here, but because you have these different layers of landscape, and the Faroes are almost made up of like little pyramids. As you get further north island, they become more dramatic pyramids, but you get these amazing sun rays that just come through, and it separates the landscape. Where in a silhouette, they all just look like just peaks and going around. Downpours. So again, as well as very little sunshine, we get a lot of rain. And I started photographing these rain clouds as they're coming through. I love how this rain comes, this band of cloud just comes through. This is the island of Koltor. I actually had the opportunity to go to this island earlier this year. It's amazing. It's a tiny little village, but no one really lives on it. There's one person that manages the land, but it's an incredible island, and it's so flat along here, and then it's just like a mountain, and then the back of this is just a solid cliff edge all the way down. But seeing the different texture of the clouds, and to me, like Hester, yeah, it's sorry, Koltor, it's an amazing island, but for me, it's the different contrasts of the clouds, of the different grays that stand out. So there's a witch's finger again to the far left, and then this is a panoramic view that you get from it. This is called the Vestmanna Sond, and you just see these light rays that come through with the heavy rain. But going back to about the imperfections of black and white, this photograph is not sharp, and the reason why is because it was probably near like 40, 50 mile an hour winds, and I'm standing there handheld trying to photograph it. But I don't care. I don't care that it's not sharp. I don't care that it's a little bit fuzzy. It's dramatic. It's moody, and that's what I absolutely love right now. And then this is a place called Funninger, and you get this amazing location. It looks down the fjord all the way down here. And again, you just sit and just watch this rain just come in and out, in and out. It's so much. And then what happens is after the rain, all the waterfalls start to fill up. So basically, anywhere you see like black lines coming down here, they turn completely white with waterfalls. And then when the rain stops, the waterfalls stop. They only last a little while. And again, just going into the element of this was originally shot in color, and I didn't like it. I hated it. It was actually in my deleted folder, and I pulled it back out and converted it back to black and white. And I just loved how the movement of the waves, and then the darkness of the sea, and then you have that beautiful light just hitting that cloud coming through. There's just all this moody, stormy clouds all around, but when there's a break in that cloud and that light comes through, it just lights up everything that needs to be attracted to. And the next project I have is called Into the Clouds. As I mentioned, we have a lot of rain, we have a lot of wind, so we are often in the clouds here. And especially where I live right now, it's a place called Hoyvik. We're constantly in a cloud, and I can drive 2 minutes down the road and I'll be in sunshine or no rain. But up here, we're in the cloud. So this is in Scotland, and I just love how the mountain. This is actually a bit pixelated on this one, but the mountain's just hiding in this massive snowstorm. And I love how it stands out in black and white. You have that different texture from the landscape, the moss and the mountain itself. It stands out. And as I was saying again, in the Faroes, we have these pyramid peaks, and this is what you get in the north of the island. Um, and we were sitting here photographing this, and it was just the clouds were wisping around this mountain, and the wind would come in and just blow. This is snow getting blown off the mountain. And there's just something about being in that cloud. And quite often with these pictures, we're sitting there in what feels like fog, and then all of a sudden it'll just disappear. And then next you're just gifted this beautiful landscape that you photograph, and you have to photograph it quick because within minutes it could be gone again, and you don't know when it's going to come back. This is a prime example. Being high up in the mountain, and this cloud is just wisping around, and it's filling up the gullies on the right hand side here. And we were actually on the way back. We'd been driving through this fog, and I decided to take the mountain road back. And the group that I was with, we just sat on the edge of this grass for maybe 2 hours, just photographing this movement of this cloud. Just it was almost kind of coming in like waves and then going out again, and coming in and going out. And I just love how the clouds do that, and it just it sticks to the landscape. And again, another dramatic picture that kind of comes. I'm pretty sure this is still again Funninger. And that cloud just looks, to me, it just looks like a demon or something is. Oh, I don't know if we've lost you. Oh,
Nope, we're good.
oh, and there's, yeah, everything froze there for a second on my screen. That's where it was. Sorry.
You're fine.
And you have this dramatic cloud that comes around. I always think it's like a monster, a demon. This cloud is coming around and it's grabbing onto the mountain. And with black and white, it just you see the texture, you see the dramaticness. This almost looks like a tunnel of light coming through. Or unless you're really hungry, then it looks like white cotton candy or something like that, or ice cream. But I just, to me, everything that I've shown you today in these pictures is a lot of photographs that I originally had photographed in color and had rejected them because I didn't like them. And I'd gone back, and as I say, I had a lot of time for 6 months, and I'd gone back and re-edited a lot of pictures that I originally, discarded. But it turns out that the way that I'd been photographing them as if they should have been black and white, but they were color. And then when I converted them to black and white, it worked. And then with a little bit of tweaking, it just seemed to just evolve more and more and more. And that's kind of how, for me, I'm seeing everything different. When I go out with my camera, I'm seeing everything in black and white. And how lines are going to react and how the cloud's going to react. And even when I look for that eyepiece, because I'm still SLR, I'm not mirrorless yet. I haven't taken the plunge yet to go mirrorless. Although I did kind of kill my camera 2 weeks ago on the Isle of Harris in Scotland, where it may have ended up in the sea. So it's a bit temperamental just now. But I just love looking through the viewfinder still and just visualizing how everything's going to look in black and white. And then that'll come to the end of the slide where I've got it's my website, as mentioned before, jameskelly.co or justjamesk.com takes you to the same link. And that's my social media there. So I will stop sharing and come back.
Wow, that went by so fast.
Sorry, I kind of I think I rattled on. There's a lot of info, but it's 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 interesting how like for me photography's never been a hobby. I'm sure a lot of people here it's a hobby. You know, it's a hobby that you start off with. Photography was never a hobby for me. It was something I studied. It became a job. I did music, I did events and weddings. It's always been a job for me. And this is the first time that I've ever felt that it's a hobby, it's a passion.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going out to take pictures for the sake of taking pictures rather than going out and taking pictures because, oh, I want to attract people onto my workshops or, I want to take nice pictures of horses so they book me. It's just I'm taking pictures for the sake of taking pictures and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like giving, originally I gave myself a permission to take a year off taking pictures and I find myself actually excited to go out and take more, if that makes sense with
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I open up for questions? Is there anyone have any questions
You
or
know, I've been monitoring. There aren't any questions. I have to giggle because I think he may have nudged people to consider a black and white project.
yes?
Yeah, I think that was Rose in here that says she's probably going to do a black and white project now.
It's
Um,
worth it. It's the retreat I was talking about. I was actually on it 2 weeks ago, leading these workshops in this beautiful beach called Luscantar Beach, um, and they're all into the intentional camera movements, mindfulness, this sort of stuff, and detail. But none of them photograph black and white. And they would come up to me and they would ask me some advice, and I'm like, hey, have you ever shot in black and white? Have you ever done this and you done that? And you can see no. And almost every one of them by the end of the 3 day workshop had converted to black and white from the beach. And even though the beach was amazing, it was beautiful, but they started seeing things differently. They started seeing how the clouds were reacting, blending in or working with the landscape. And we're talking about composition, they were seeing things completely different because they were seeing it in black and white. And I I I, I say to everyone, I recommend just going out with a camera, sticking it on black and white, and just seeing what you get, and sometimes I say to people, you know, change the crop to square just to go and mess with your head and do something that's scary,
yeah,
that's
it is scary. And I think too, it's a good it's a good exercise to do, especially when you're in that rut, but you're in your own playground. So
Mhm.
that if I'm going to the Faroes, I'm not going to want to try black and white for the sake of
Yeah,
trying it because that is like candy in a candy store and I want to run around and grab all the stuff. But if I did it here at home, it's like, you know what? I can shoot here anytime.
yeah,
So that to me is a little bit more appealing than saving it for a big trip like the
yeah.
Faroes.
No, I understand
Yeah,
completely. But
but
you know,
but since you live there, yeah, you can
yeah,
do, that's like your backyard. Let me put a couple of questions in front of you.
go for it.
Um, Donna's question is, do you have any editing tips for converting your color images to black and white for greatest impact?
It's difficult. Editing. I think there's a lot of advice out there in editing. I think editing is very much a personal touch. I do tend to use a preset. I use a company called Mastin Labs have an HP5, although I don't think they call it HP5, but it's Ilford HP5 preset, and it emulates the HP5 film that Ilford produced. That's what I shot in college. That's what I absolutely love. So that's my breakdown for editing. Um, what I do actually for first thing I ever do with editing is I take all the pictures and I turn them upside down. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard this before, but you turn them
Hmm.
upside down, and the ones that stand out are the ones that pick. And then I will convert them to black and white, add the preset, and just really play with the sliders. I don't tend to do a lot of editing. I actually I hate editing. I really don't like it.
Yeah.
Um, but with landscape, I can take my time with it. But I don't really have any made. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to like to kind of push more of the editing and explain it better. But I just look at the image and I think every image is completely different. So I will play with each slider and see if it improves it, makes it worse, put it back to normal. And I play with the white balance because obviously with the white balance and black and white, it changes how the colors change. With the color sliders, obviously it converts to black and white. So if you ramp up the reds or the greens and the blues, it does completely change the picture. So just take a picture, convert it to black and white, and then just take those sliders and just gently, you know, move them left and right to see if it does make any improvements. Yeah.
Okay. So Kathy's question for you was, are you processing color photos to black and white mostly?
So initially I will shoot. So yeah, they'll get converted from color to black and white. So they will be raw initially.
Hmm.
I have started shooting JPEG and RAW. So I will have, the JPEG on the file will be the black and white that I see in the back of my camera. So I shoot Nikon, and I am wanting to move systems hopefully soon. But I shoot Nikon, I shoot JPEG and RAW. So the JPEG's black and white, so I can compare the two, and I convert the RAW to black and white, and then make the adjustments as the JPEG would originally been if I like it. Um, Things like I think it's called Silver FX, the
Hmm.
plugin Silver
Hmm.
FX. It was phenomenal. I don't use it anymore, but it was phenomenal for converting to black and white as well. It was really good that they did that. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I'm not seeing any other questions, but I have a question. What system are you going to jump to, Trader?
Um, I think I'm going to move Fuji.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That
certainly
that
not.
that is acceptable.
Yeah. If I was getting, because because of that trip that we were on, I started doing more wildlife and really enjoying it.
Mhm.
But I think I'm going to move to the Fuji system. I have a very good contact who's an ambassador for Fuji, so I get a good discount as well.
Okay.
I love the Fuji system. I love the buttons. It just reminds me of old film cameras.
Hmm.
If I could afford Hasselblad, I would go Hasselblad, but they're kind of out of the market at the moment, price wise. So yeah, better buy a house first.
That's okay. That's all
Yeah,
right. You got to feed the babies first. Um, Gosh, I don't want to let you go, but I have to let you go
that's
because
okay, no
it's
problem.
time for you to go to bed. All right, James Kelly. Y'all, I just convinced, I didn't actually convince him. He's so
I'm a yes
easy.
man.
You don't even put up a fight. I mean, I'm not even challenged by like, hey James, I do this little happiness hour newsletter. Do you want? Yeah, sign me up. I'm like, well, I haven't even gotten my pitch out yet. So he's gonna do an article for us coming in March.
Mhm.
So if I give you a year to think about it, will you come back and do another presentation for me?
Of course, definitely. I have an idea for the article already, so that should be interesting. But
Oh,
yeah, of
okay.
course, always welcome to come back. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I
hope we have to talk
appreciate it.
more.
I
Yep.
appreciate you so much. I do miss you. You are the Faroe Islands. I know that that's not your country of origin, but when I think of Faroe Islands, I think my friend James lives there.
Oh, not
So
not not the hot dogs. I'm glad that's what you think about when you think of the fairs. A lot of other people don't, so it's great.
I will say this. I can remember you showing me the photo of the puffin, and you had
Mhm.
already converted it black and white, and it was like, I feel like that is like a mortal sin to
Hmm.
take that beautiful puffin in all its beautiful color to black and white. And then I remember kind of giving that black and white a second look and went, that is pretty compelling.
It's
It really is. I'd never seen anybody do that. But at the time I thought, oh my God, that's terrible. But you were right. He stood out. And it was just it's a beautiful portrait. I have a friend here named Dennis Kelly, um,
okay. Good
who
name.
does portraiture, and
Yeah.
he's kind of known for doing all his portraiture in black and white, and
Okay.
I mean he takes humans. You took a puffin, but black and white is worth playing around with, and I just need more hours in my day. But
Yes, definitely.
yeah, I think that one of the things that I've always wanted with the happiness hour is for people just to think outside the box. And if I could get a speaker to say something to motivate someone to think it, that's a, a check in the box for me.
Yeah.
But for them to actually do it, that would just be amazing. So for all of you that
If
left
anyone does,
comments,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's so many comments in here of people that said, I'm going to consider it. If you do, please tag James so that he sees that you,
You send me a message.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm an open book, so like any questions, anything at all, message me.
yeah,
Message me, ping me a message. I'm not, I don't keep anything. I share everything. So, and if anyone wants to share me pictures, go for it. Yeah,
great. All right, sir, I'm going to let you go to bed. I'm going to say
no
thank you very
problem.
much. And gosh, next week, Stephen Ham joins us to share his presentation, Astrophotography Secrets, Pro Editing and Post Processing Workflow. Please go look at Stephen's work before next week. He's gonna blow you guys away. All right, until next time, go out and create something beautiful, and I hope that we see you again soon.